Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
I'm female, 24. My family's setup is really weird. Imagine a more toxic version of modern family, and you will have a pretty accurate depiction of my situation. But there are a few differences, with the primary one being how big of an a hole my dad is. My parents split up very recently because my dad is a serial cheater, and his latest mistress was Lorelei, a girl from my college. The whole situation is really icky and led to a lot of drama. Imagine the 52-year-old man leaving his wife, who had already suffered through previous affairs, for a woman who was the same age as his daughter. Naturally, my brother Nate, male 30, and I sided with mom and support her a lot emotionally and financially. One of the reasons mom didn't leave straight away was because dad is wealthy and influential, and she was too dependent on him. Dad, to our amazement, simply tried to talk about this idea of free love and expected us to be completely chill with him and his behavior. Needless to say, that hasn't happened. IMAO. At best, Nate and I are cordial with him and talk to him during holidays and birthdays. His mistress has moved in with him at their condo and made college a living hell for me. It's clear to everyone but Dad that she dipped the moment his bank account runs dry. However, I am in a better place now. I've graduated, gotten a great job, and met the love of my life as well, James. While it was a lot of work to go through, I have had a very patient partner as well as a more mature outlook on life to help me form a loving relationship. A week ago, James proposed in front of our favorite peer, and I said yes. My whole family knows about this update since I called everyone and posted on my socials as well. But Dad is throwing a spanner in the works by asking if he could fund a lavish engagement party for me and Derek. Imagine something like booking the entire floor of a five-star hotel and having chocolate fountains. That kind of deal. I should mention that my dad has often tried to weasel his way back into our lives or get more involved by throwing money at us. I told him that I don't need his money. This blew up a little, and I honestly didn't even feel like inviting him to my engagement party at that point. He was acting like a child about the whole issue and felt like I was insulting him and his image by not agreeing to the kind of engagement party that classy people go to. As you can tell by this point, his lifestyle is very different from mom, me, and Nate's. The last thing that man paid for was my college degree, which I do get is a huge deal. But after that point, I live the life of an average person. No fancy schmancy things unless I save up for them. Additionally, James comes from a really poor background, and we both agree that splurging on an engagement party is a stupid thing to do. We just wanted to call a few friends and family, have chit chat and wine at a restaurant, and call it a day. Ugh, it was just so annoying to try and explain all of this to Dad. It was like talking to a brick wall. We ended up not talking to each other, and it would probably have stayed that way except my mom intervened. Saint that she is, she asked me to reconsider and at least invite Dad to the party, leaving it up to him whether he wanted to come or not. However, she did ask me to call just Dad, as neither of us was comfortable seeing Lorelei at my engagement party. Begrudgingly, I did accept her POV and ended up calling Dad. I told him that he was invited but asked him not to bring Lorelei. I could tell that he was probably seething at that idea, but he didn't raise any questions. Anyways, I had done my part, and all I had to do now was kick back and enjoy my party. On the day of the party, around 6 p.m. in the evening, everyone had come in and settled down at a nice little Italian restaurant near the pier where we got engaged. I was in the company of my friends, my brother, my mom, and my amazing fiance, and I honestly wasn't missing Dad at all. All of a sudden, a waiter comes to me and says that an old gentleman was looking for me outside. I went out to see who it was, and it was Dad. But it wasn't just Dad, it was Dad and Lorelei. both overdressed to high heaven and bringing an entire entourage of catering services in tow. Dad comes up to me and hugs me and says, "I know you wanted to have the party here, kiddo, but I thought I could upgrade the experience a little." Barely containing my anger, I asked him, "What did you do, Dad?" And he tells me that he rented out the whole pier for this party. That's like a buffet line outside and everything. I tried to tell him that this wasn't what I wanted, but before I could even finish my sentence, there was a whole train of his guests and Lorelei's besties at the venue, too. Old men and young women who had made my college life hell were the ideal guests for my engagement party. I was not having this behavior, and I turned around after swearing at Dad and telling him he was a self-obsessed prick. He followed me into the venue, and I asked the staff to forcibly keep him out of the restaurant. The pier was his, sure, but I still had a safe space at my table. Eventually, after shouting from outside the restaurant to eventually just texting me, "I don't need you to enjoy myself. You're being an ungrateful daughter right now," Dad gave up on trying to join in on my engagement party. He was having his version of my engagement party outside, though, as there was loud music and a bunch of commotion on the pier. I felt really bad for James and his friends, but he was chill about the issue. My mom and Nate, on the other hand, were furious and wanted to go out and confront Dad. However, it would have made an already sour day worse, and we still wanted to focus on the main thing, my engagement. Surprisingly enough, James' amazing support and the overall respect the restaurant staff gave to our situation were able to make the evening kind of pleasant. When we left, I saw that Dad, Lorelei, and all their friends were out partying on the pier. It looked like a speed dating event for sugar babies and sugar daddies. I didn't even look their way, but from the vibes, I could make out that everyone was getting hammered. Hey, we went home, went to bed, and thought that was the end of it. At the very least, it would be a funny story to tell at the wedding, to which Dad will not be invited, thank you very much. However, when I woke up the following morning, I saw a bunch of missed calls from the restaurant. Being a regular spot for us, I immediately got concerned and called back. The owner picked up and said, "Miss, I understand this is a bit of a tough situation for you, but your father was a little unruly around midnight last night, and he and his friends ended up trashing the front facade of our restaurant. When we confronted him about it, he said that you will pay for it. He was saying something about you not needing his money, I guess. I'm not sure. He was very drunk." I was so embarrassed and I apologized profusely. Gritting my teeth, I said, "I'm so sorry. It was very exhausting for us as well. Can you please let me know how much the repairs would cost?" From there on, he told me a few things. Firstly, the repairs were coming out to $2,750. And secondly, the only reason he didn't press charges was that he was aware of our situation and was being kind to me. Red-faced, I immediately called my hungover father and asked him to foot the bill. Without any shame at all, he said that he acted out of order because of my emotional coldness, and he didn't have to pay for the bill since I never included him in my party. It was the least I could do to pay for his rampage yesterday. I told him that he was lucky that the restaurant owner wasn't pressing charges, and if he didn't pay immediately, things would get a lot worse. As expected, he laughed it off. I immediately called the restaurant owner back and asked him to go ahead and press charges. I even told him that if he needed, I could provide screenshots and testify about his behavior as well. A day after that, I saw Lorelei and Dad at my doorstep seething about the lawsuit. I wasn't willing to talk to them, and I made that very clear. James was there too, and he blocked them from coming into the house. In the end, they walked away while throwing a fit, and Lorelei even threatened me. It was wild, but the way they were behaving made me wonder if the lawsuit is going to be that damaging to Dad. I mean, I could have just waited and asked him again and again, and I'm sure he would have caved. Instead, I kind of made it more about making sure he learned his lesson and realized a fancy life wasn't going to win me over. AITA Update 1. This is insane, but Lorelei ran a smear campaign against me. She went on her IG live and started spinning a story about how ungrateful I am as a daughter. A lot of her followers started attacking me for no reason. I honestly might have to go to court for this too because it's affecting me mentally. I'll speak to a lawyer and keep you posted. Update 2. LMAO, guys. This has gotten out of hand in a really funny way. The restaurant went above and beyond a lawsuit and even posted on their social media footage of Dad, and it's gone viral. While they haven't revealed Dad's identity, I did post a very telling comment underneath the post, making it an open secret. Dad's reputation has taken a massive hit in the community, and he's also being pressured to immediately make the payment. With the kind of money he has, it is no issue, but he's just being an ass about it. I've also decided that I will go NC with Dad, and Nate wants to do the same. My mom understands this, and to be honest, sees it as a positive after the way Dad and Lorelei have been acting all this time. Also, I spoke to a lawyer about it, but I've cooled off for now and don't think I need to do anything about the post. Going NC has definitely helped with my mental state as well. Update 3. Lorelei went too far. Okay, so her IG live, as bad as it was, eventually got taken down because a bunch of people started reporting it. I'm still not sure who, but I have a sneaking suspicion it was James and his friends. However, I got home from work today and saw an ungrateful bitch spray painted on my house. I didn't even need to go through the security camera footage to know that it was Lorelei who had done it. I'm taking her to court for this as well, and that's that. I've been too forgiving so far. NTA, play stupid games and win stupid prizes. That's what your dad needs to know. I give their relationship 1 more year tops. NTA, I feel terrible secondhand embarrassment for you. Your father sounds like a man-child, and it's a blessing that you ended up going NC with him. Next story. Started family therapy with my dad and stepmom almost a year ago. The therapist is great. She does individual with me once a week, and we see her as a group once a week as well. Session 1, she gave us a diary each to write in every week and for us to discuss with her, the group, if we want after. I never share what I write with them. I do share with the therapist. We talk about it a lot. A couple of weeks back, I had filled the original diary she gave me, so she found another one for me. My dad and stepmom wanted to hear what I wrote, but I said I didn't want to share it with them. For context, I lost my mom when I was 8. Parents were divorced. Dad was dating her at the time, but I met her like 5 weeks after I lost my mom. Dad moved the relationship along really fast so I would have another mom. I told him I wouldn't accept another mom. He told me I would see, that it would be so easy. A little over a year later, they had a baby together, and then another and another and another. From the time the first baby was born, they have mentioned adopting me. When I wouldn't go along with that, and they were told it was a no-go without my being on board by some lawyers, they had her become my legal guardian and set it up so she would get me if Dad died. And they have enforced that I must spend at least 6 hours of my week doing some bonding time with her as a way to push past the distance I keep from her as a mother figure. So in my diary, I have written how I wish my mom was there for stuff instead of her, how sometimes I close my eyes when something special is happening in my life, and in my head, I swap my stepmom out for my mom, and I imagine the conversation Mom and I would have had or what she would say to me in the moment. I write about that a lot, and how growing up without a mom sucks. How not having a mom as a teenager is rough as hell. Then we discuss it. The therapist was mostly concerned with the upset I feel when I swap them out in my head and then have to face reality, so we're working on that. Anyway, my dad and stepmom saying they were concerned they were left in the dark about something important. Rooted through my stuff, found the therapy diary, and read the whole thing. Then they got so mad. They asked how I could be so cruel, how I could dismiss her so easily. To say I grew up without a mom when my stepmom is right there doing all the mother things. Then it became how that was important to share with them in therapy so we could fix it. They ended up lashing out at the therapist and they are now refusing to use her services again. They are looking for someone new. While I am public enemy number one, AITA? NTA. I am sorry about everything. You didn't mention your age. Your parents have no right to read your personal stuff, and they can't impose a mom on you when you are not ready to replace your real mom. Your stepmom can have her own place in your life. You can still love her without replacing your mom. I just don't understand step parents' obsession to replace the bio parents. You are entitled to have your feelings and emotions, and your parents have absolutely no right to blame you for that. NYA, they violated trust and are in the wrong. It seems you do harbor quite a bit of resentment, but it is understandable due to the way they are forcing the relationship. All their efforts will fail. You cannot and should not be forced to replace your mom in this way. I hope there is some way that you're able to retain your therapist. I am in the dark about your options, but hopefully you can make a petition to continue your therapy. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt as to having good intentions, but they have massively failed you. I hope there is an adult you can reach out to because it sounds like this will ramp up into truly unpleasant territory for your home life. Please reach out to someone, the therapist, another relative, or maybe a teacher for assistance. Good luck. Next story. So on Saturday, it was my sister's 16th birthday, and my parents wanted to host a birthday party for her. We went to a bowling alley and invited our cousins and her friends. The venue was great. I really liked the curly fries there, but the thing that I didn't like was my sister's friends. They have bullied me for years. It's because I don't have the same similarities as my sister. I'm overweight while my sister's body is the shape of one of those bikini models you see on the magazine. My sister is pretty, big lips and all that. I look ugly. I have acne all over me and everything. They've bullied me for that, basically. In the party, they made fun of me for missing the bowling pins a lot of times. They blamed it because of my weight. On the other hand, my sister is a pro at bowling. Sometimes I think I'm adopted. My sister is bullying me along with them because I think she's trying to fit in with them, but I'm not really sure. I enjoyed bowling with my cousins whilst I tried to ignore them, but anyways, after about an hour, it was time to cut the cake. The cake wasn't large, but that didn't bother me. The portion I ate was bigger than everyone else's. My parents knew I wanted a big portion of cake. It was so damn tasty. Unfortunately, when I finished eating, my sister and her friends came up to me and started laughing. One of them said, "Are you trying to be Lizzo? Because I can definitely see it." I knew she was talking about my weight. I just knew it. I ended up crying and they quickly ran away because they didn't want to be seen. My mom and dad came up to me asking what's wrong. I told them they're bullying me because of my weight. And my dad told me to just ignore them. And my mom got me a larger portion of cake to cheer me up. Because I ate 2 large portions of cake, some people didn't get to even eat one small piece of cake because the cake wasn't big. My parents ended up giving the people who didn't get to eat any cake an extra gift bag. But they weren't mad at me. When we got home, my sister was mad at me, saying I embarrassed her for eating most of the cake, which is why I think I'm the AH for ruining her party. AITA? You lost me when you said some people got no cake. You're not a bad person for being bigger, but if you love the cake so much, don't you think other guests would also enjoy a taste? Also, your mom giving you extra cake to make you feel better says a lot about where your issues with eating come from. Your sister sounds cruel, so I'm going with ESH. But for real, it doesn't matter if you love cake. Don't eat it all if there are people who didn't get any. That's ridiculous. ESH. If you're eating enough large portions of cake that some people aren't getting any cake at all, it's out of balance. They obviously shouldn't tease you about your weight, but whatever your weight is, you shouldn't be eating multiple portions of party food that will result in others not getting to have any. I would be embarrassed if I had to tell my guests there was no cake left for them. Again, she shouldn't be mean to you. But how much cake you choose to eat at a party is something that you can control. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.